Brexit. How will it be served? We have under 2 years to leave the EU, so Theresa May has a Queen's speech to make, which Labour are going to vote down. If this causes a challenge to her leadership, there could be another election. But if all goes well, then under a week's time, we're going to Europe. To ask about this whole Brexit thing. And be like, hey, you know that Brexit thing we sent you a letter about? Oh yeah? We want to talk about it now. Oh, finally. So they're gonna get us to settle a divorce settlement first of all. Last time round, they got Parliament to settle the Great Repeal, which could come into question now Theresa May doesn't have a majority. Then, they're gonna ask us to pay. Yeah, if you want to get out, you've got to pay. How much? 100 billion? May will have to consult her own party and Parliament. And they would vote no. Pretty much everyone in Parliament would be like, is that the best you can do? In which case, there could be another election. But if there's not, she'll then go back to Europe and ask, can you do less? Okay, 80 billion. So she goes back to Parliament. The SNP will say, no, because they secretly want independence. The Lib Dems will say no because they don't want Brexit at all. Plaid and the Greens will say no because Welsh vegans. Labour will say no because they want another election. And most Tories would say no, along with the DUP, who oppose any kind of austerity that might come as a result of the bill, with only a few May loyalists saying yes. So she goes back to Europe and asks, hey man, this isn't cool. Can you do less? Bro? So they say, 60 billion, final offer. So she goes back to Parliament and asks them to vote. The SNP would say, no, because they secretly want independence. Basically, the Remain MPs in Labour, the Lib Dems, Plaid, the Greens, and the SNP would all say no, along with the hard Brexiteers in the Tories, while some Labour and Tory MPs would say yes, as both parties campaigned in favour of Brexit in the election. So for the purposes of this video, let's just say we accept it and move on. Finally. So it was in the Conservative manifesto to leave the single market, but Theresa May would need MPs to support this, otherwise there could be another election. The hard Brexiteers, DUP and Theresa May loyalists would say yes to this, but those pesky 18 Scottish Tories and softed Tory Brexiteers would say no. Labour want good access to the single market, but not free movement of people. So most would say no because they don't want a hard Brexit. But some would say yes if it meant ending free movement of people. While the Remainer parties, the Lib Dems, SNP, Plaid and the Greens would all say no. So Theresa May would go to Europe again and ask, hey, not you again. We want to access the single market. Alright, but you got to accept free movement of people. Hell no. Theresa May would be forced to consult Parliament, or there could be another election. So she goes back to Parliament, makes a bill to accept free movement of people. The Tories and most of the Labour Party would say no to free movement of people, as that was what the EU referendum was about. Some of Labour might say yes, because they don't really like Brexit, along with all the Remain parties. But Parliament would vote overwhelmingly against free movement of people. So Theresa May would go back to Europe and ask, dude, you gotta end free movement of people and still allow us access to the single market. No way, grey lady. At which point the DUP would butt in. Guys? What? We kind of want free movement so we can see our friends in Ireland. At which point, both the UK and the EU would say, oh, sure. Piss off. I mean, sure, absolutely. So Northern Ireland would get its lovely free border. But the question would still remain around free movement to the rest of the UK. So now, Theresa May goes back to Parliament and draws up a bill to protect the rights of EU citizens abroad and at home. To which Parliament replies, duh. So Theresa May goes back to Europe. Hey, we want to protect the rights of EU citizens abroad and at home to stay. To which Europe replies, okay, the deal is single market access, free movement of people, free border with Ireland, and protect EU citizens. Wait, we don't want free movement of people. Well, that's the deal. Take it or leave it. Can we negotiate more? No, time's up. At which point, the UK faces an ineffective Brexit or a no deal. Most of Parliament, apart from the hard Brexiteers, would fight against a hard border with Ireland and no access to the single market at all. The government would be blamed for producing such a bad deal, and there could be another election in which the terms of the deal will be the mandate people vote on. That's all before we say, hey America, yeah? Can you help us?